I remember when I watched Avengers Infinity War in the theater, when you could actually go to theaters, and hearing everyone's shocked reactions at the end of the movie as the collective gasp reverberated around the room. Now, in that moment, you could see the power of an epic plot twist, and sometimes Marvel does them better than anyone else. And that's what we're gonna look at here, with 10 of the best MCU plot twists. Let's start off with the one we just mentioned, the ending to the one and only Avengers Infinity War.
You should have gone for the head.
Now, having Thanos win, or at least have the upper hand, wouldn't have been all that shocking, especially seeing as Endgame was originally given the working title of Infinity War Part 2, so it made sense that the events of Infinity War would spill over into the sequel. But I was thinking of more of a moment like in Deathly Hallows Part 1, where Voldemort finds the Elder Wand, where, in my mind, Infinity War would end with Thanos collecting all the Infinity Stones and have his plans set for the next movie. What I wasn't expecting was him to literally dust half the universe away, including a majority of our favorite characters like Spidey. Now, if you're familiar with the comics, you may have seen it coming, but it was still a huge shockwave to have Thanos win to such a huge extent and provide a huge cliffhanger, the size of which hadn't been seen in the MCU before. Endgame, of course, followed up with some pretty big plot twists of its own, such as Thor dispatching Thanos within the first 25 minutes of the movie, Loki starting off his own timeline, and of course, Iron Man playing his Uno reverse card and snapping Thanos and his goons into oblivion. But still, do any of those compare to that Infinity War ending? Despite the Infinity War plot twist being pretty massive, for me personally, nothing was as shocking as the moment it was revealed that Michael Keaton's Adrian Toomes, aka the Vulture, is the father of Peter's love interest and homecoming date Liz. Now, their romance was never going to be long-lived, seeing as Spider-Man isn't known for having the best history with making relationships work, and also Zendaya is MJ, so I mean, we always know how that'll work out. But still, having Liz's dad being the man Peter is trying to take down was a huge twist. Seriously, that scene in the car was so darn tense, and it's probably the tensest scene in the MCU so far.
Wow.
Peter's bad luck with his friend's parents might also continue if Harry Osborn and his father Norman are added to the MCU as well, because Norman is something of a villainous dad himself. But the Spider-Man team didn't just stop when it came to twists, providing an arguably even bigger plot twist in the post-credits scene in the sequel, Far From Home. That's because Mysterio revealed Peter's most valuable secret, his real identity, to the entire world in spectacular fashion. Anyone who has not learned to stay to the very end of a Marvel movie would have missed one of the biggest twists in the MCU yet, and the way it was brilliantly added in at the very end was truly shocking. I mean, let's face it, it's slightly more important to the narrative than eating shawarma. Now, at the time of this video, we're not sure of the entire ramifications of Mysterio's reveal, but we can imagine that there will be some very real consequences in the upcoming movie No Way Home, with set photos potentially indicating that Peter is on the run after being accused of Mysterio's murder. Mysterio's reveal as the movie's villain is also worth a mention, although I mean, he is Mysterio and a member of the Sinister Six, so it wasn't all that surprising. Fun fact though, there was almost a double twist when it came to Mysterio, with the original plan being to reveal that Quentin Beck was actually a shape-shifting Skrull the whole time, but this was eventually scrapped. How can we mention MCU plot twists and not mention the most polarizing one, the reveal that Ben Kingsley's Mandarin is a fake, with him actually being an actor by the name of Trevor Slattery, who was hired as a decoy by the movie's real antagonist Aldrich Killian. I mean, in hindsight, how did we not see that coming? You can't have a name like Aldrich Killian and not be a villain. Now, in my personal opinion, I actually like this twist, especially as the real Mandarin will be making an appearance in the upcoming Shang-Chi and is played by another great actor, Tony Leung. But I do understand the hate behind it, especially seeing as Tony will never go toe-to-toe with his arch nemesis in the MCU. Either way, love it or hate it, it was certainly a shocking twist. Thanos' victory in Infinity War may have been the most shocking, but he was by no means the first Marvel villain to come out on top, with Zemo's plan of breaking the Avengers in half in Civil War coming to fruition. Zemo's plan at first was to seemingly create his own team of supervillains, but after he killed the super soldiers at the Hydra facility towards the end of the movie, his true motive became clear. This would have been a big enough twist, but an even bigger twist came when Zemo revealed exactly how he would turn Tony and Steve against one another. That was, of course, by revealing the fact that it was Steve's best friend Bucky who murdered Tony's parents during his days as the Winter Soldier. Ensue a big climactic fight scene with heart-wrenching dialogue and Zemo's grand scheme paying off. Until, of course, Thanos provides them a common enemy that they can rally against, but still. Now, seeing as the MCU are seemingly following the secret invasion route, I mean, they have a secret invasion show in development, comic book fans expected the Skrulls to fulfill the role of the villain in Captain Marvel, just like they are in the comics. But of course, that didn't happen, and instead, Marvel painted the Skrulls in a sympathetic light, showing them to be the victims in the Kree-Skrull War.
I just need your help.
And that they were just helpless refugees trying to escape the tyrannical Kree regime. This was a surprise to most people, especially given the grand narrative, and it'll be interesting to see how the Skrulls play out going forward. Perhaps Marvel will go back and change the Skrulls to the villains once again, but that itself would be surprising. I guess we'll just have to wait and see. When it comes to WandaVision, I feel like every plot point in that show was a twist. I know for me, the biggest twist was that Mephisto wasn't the villain all along, but hey, whatever. The biggest twist to come in WandaVision though was the fact that she was the one to create the Hex and was controlling people inside it using chaos magic. Disney didn't have the full properties of the character until their purchase of Fox, so they were unable to use all of her abilities and character traits, such as her being a witch, until WandaVision, and her true power was there for all to see. Many people theorized that she was under the control of some villain, like of course Mephisto, or there was an ulterior motive other than Wanda losing control of her powers and creating the Hex, but of course, that's what it was. Even though in hindsight it makes sense, at the time it was quite surprising. Although that scene where Wanda really uses her powers, turning sword operatives into clowns, was pretty darn brilliant. Other notable plot twists in the show were it being Agatha all along, although I mean most people saw that coming, the introduction of Spectral, aka White Vision, and that Evan Peters cameo wasn't an introduction to the multiverse, but instead just a genitalia gag. Yeah, that one wasn't annoying at all. Of course, the biggest twist came in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, when it was revealed that Sharon Carter was actually the power broker. Okay, no, you saw that one coming? Okay, well, how about the time when John Walker straight up killed a guy? No, you saw that one coming too. Okay, how about the moment Sam is revealed as Captain America? No, that was obvious as well. Okay, I got it. How about the moment Baron Zemo revealed that he had some sick dance moves, huh? Now I can guarantee that no one saw that one coming, but hey, they were straight up fire. Okay, this one was a bit cheap, so we'll focus on a different one instead. Other than the whole Thanos winning twist in Infinity War, the other surprise moment came when the classic villain Red Skull was revealed to be the guardian of the Soul Stone. Now, while Hugo Weaving didn't reprise his role as Red Skull, it was still a surprise for fans to see an iconic character who most thought they'd seen the last of. There are no two words that bring more of a shiver down your spine than when someone comes up close to you and whispers in your ear, "Hail Hydra." Huh? See? Goosebumps. But no character would find those words more shocking than Captain America himself, Steve Rogers.
Hail Hydra.
In fact, for the audience as a whole, it was pretty shocking to learn that Hydra had been secretly infiltrating S.H.I.E.L.D. and the government for years, and had corrupted the organization's core, bringing it to a swift end, which, all in all, was a pretty massive moment for the MCU. Although, for intents and purposes, S.H.I.E.L.D. has seemingly been fully replaced by S.W.O.R.D. and filled with jerks like Agent Hayward. Seriously, that guy is the worst. Now, seeing as Ragnarok basically means the battle that would destroy Asgard, it should not have been surprising to see Asgard being obliterated in a movie with Ragnarok in the title, but I mean, it was still pretty surprising that Marvel went there, especially seeing how important Asgard was to Thor and Loki. But of course, Thor did what he needed to do to beat his sister Hela and release the demon Surtur to destroy their homeworld and the source of Hela's power. Despite the destruction of Asgard and the entire population of the planet effectively becoming refugees and having to fit into one ship, the film did end on a positive note as they searched for their new home. That was of course until the opening of Infinity War, when they walked into the path of Thanos and his army. Yeah, that was a pretty rough couple of days for the Asgardians, wasn't it? While these were all pretty epic plot twists, there are also some honorable mentions that didn't quite make the list, including Natasha sacrificing herself for Clint on Vormir and seemingly dying once and for all, Loki being alive at the end of Thor Dark World and disguising himself as Odin, even if that never really paid off, Killmonger being revealed to be T'Challa's cousin and defeating him in combat at the first time of asking, and Ego revealing himself to be evil and the one who killed Peter's mother, although in itself, that wasn't too surprising, but the bluntness of the reveal was. Let's end on another honorable mention, shall we? As we mentioned, Mysterio reveals Peter's identity, but another shocking twist was that J.K. Simmons was playing J. Jonah Jameson once again, providing our first real crossover.